Welcome to Live with Miami's Community News, South Florida's #1 source for local stories. I'm Michael Miller, bringing people together and sharing the voices, events, and connections that shape our community.
Cheers,
Cheers.
guys.
That's true.
I'm all in to be the Miami-Dade County mayor.
That event. Tell everybody about it. What's next? What do we have to do?
Thanks for joining us today with David Magnuson, former police officer, 37 years serving the people in Miami-Dade County, as well as some other places, former police chief. You have your master's in military history, and you've been to the FBI Academy.
National Academy.
National
correct.
Academy. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that. All right. And we have activist over here and the chairman of the Greater Kendall Business Association. You're in the internet space as
Yep.
far as living.
Yep.
And your other passion is leading Profit Inc. for the past several years.
Yep.
And folks, today he is dressed up. Tell us about who came and spoke today. At
Well, we
Greater
had a very
Kendall.
special guest today. We had Catherine Fernandez-Rundle came to us to talk about human trafficking, which a lot of jaws dropped in that room about the prevalence of it. Here in Miami-Dade County, you want to be #1, but you don't want to be #1 for something like that. In the state of Florida, Miami-Dade County is #1 for human trafficking.
So, Chief, tell us about some of your experience in that arena as far as human trafficking.
You know, back in the day, and talking years ago, a lot of it flew under the radar.
Yeah.
I have to give credit to the state attorney's office, and they're partnering with all the agencies, state agencies, local, federal, to bring this to light. With the ad campaigns too that you have in various places like bus stations, train stations, things like that. What to look for in terms of human trafficking. And there's been some big arrests and a lot of good information, putting that information out to the public. Now they know what to look for. They see something that's not right, they're getting on a phone, making a call, leaving a tip. That goes a long way. And I would say a decade, maybe a little bit more, I would have flown under the radar. So a lot of great work has been done in the law enforcement, state attorney's office, not just here, but around the country.
Yeah. And when the Super Bowl came down here a few years ago, there's a big challenge with that. So we have the FIFA big deals coming down here in a year, right? So I know the state attorney is going to get prepared. And it's going to be more than just Miami-Dade County state attorney. I think regional and the state and perhaps federals are going to come down here to try to stop that, because these people from all over the world are coming here. And I know that it sort of happens with the Super Bowl, but in this case, there are going to be people from all over that's going to be down here.
Again, back in the day, you'd have a large convention, a large event. It would bring in groups of other types of people, and you can imagine what those are. As time goes on, you begin to realize it isn't just adults that are coming in to try to mingle with the crowd, right? There's people that are now young people, young underage people that against their will are here for those reasons with this trafficking. So it's incredibly important putting that word out, especially what to look for, because a lot of people are novices. They wouldn't, they wouldn't know if they saw something unless it was brought to their attention. Well, wait a minute. And that's always the telltale sign, even in police work. It doesn't look right. Something doesn't look right. Go with your gut.
Yeah. So they brought up some numbers today. Worldwide, human trafficking is like $145 billion business. So I asked a question. I said, there must be then a lot of organized crime involved. And they said, that may be the case, but anybody can be a human trafficker. It could be an uncle. It could be a person down the street. It's not necessarily organized. Could be anybody.
Let's talk about shootings, all right? But a couple of weeks ago we met and you said, Michael, pretty soon there'll be another shooting. And you predicted something. It was actually in a couple of days after that. So there was a shooting yesterday, I think, that was in, I think that was in Texas.
Texas, Dallas,
right?
yeah.
To where some detainees, I think if I read it right, they were in a van and they were shot by some person.
Sniper.
A sniper.
A sniper.
All right. It was not like that guy planned it out. I'm going to shoot these guys, whoever it happened to be. And when I mentioned to you last week, gee, are there more shootings today? And you said, I don't think so, Michael. And you started rattling off these murders and assassinations and sniper type of things. Just to refresh us, why don't we go back from your earliest recollection, maybe back the last 20, 30, 40 years as far as high profile people?
Well, I mean, obviously, putting Lincoln way to the past, right? I do bring up McKinley because he was killed by an anarchist, and anarchy was an issue in this country back around 1900s, right around that time. But we'll start with Kennedy. And, you know, there's a political climate now, and it's extreme. I don't even like these extreme left extremists. It doesn't matter what side they're extremists. They're dangerous, right? And, you know, Kennedy back then, Dallas was not too friendly to Kennedy. I mean, Johnson was his vice president, but I mean, there was always that thought, you know, listen, you know, he just fired or got rid of General Edwin Walker, who was he tried thinking he thought he was the president, right? I mean, he was John Bircher, and he sort of talked down about the president. The president had to demanded his resignation. They couldn't stand him, right? They couldn't, the right couldn't stand Kennedy. So right before he's going to Dallas, Adlai Stevenson goes, the secretary to the UN. He gets jostled. He gets spat upon. They say, this is not good. Mr. President, I wouldn't go. You know, I'm going to go. You know, okay. Well, lo and behold, wasn't a right-wing extremist that took him out. It was a Marxist, Lee Harvey Oswald. And here's the thing. Lee Harvey Oswald tried killing General Walker 5 months before. He sniped him and missed.
All right.
So the point I'm getting at, what do these people stand for? I mean, he wants to take out some right-wing general that Kennedy fired. He misses. And then, April to November, he takes out the president.
For people to know, Kennedy was in a open convertible, sitting there, right? And so we look today, there's certainly a lot more security. So,
well, it was raining all morning. And and they were going to put the bubble on. The sun came out, and he wanted to be to the, the person to the people, with the governor Connolly in the front seat and all, right? That's just what happened. But the whole thing that took place there, and again, it goes back to the political, to come full circle what you were asking me, the politics now. Well, we can jump to '68, right? Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, Medgar Evers, a couple weeks before John F. Kennedy gets killed, civil rights person gets killed by a sniper. And then we jump to '81, and I mentioned that last time, and that seems to fly under the radar worldwide. We have John Lennon killed December of '80, and within a 10-month period, Lennon, you have Reagan shot with 3 others, Brady, McCarthy, and Delahanty, Officer Delahanty. You have the Pope shot.
Yeah.
Then you have Anwar Sadat assassinated, a warrior, but a man of peace. And you just, these political assassinations, they worldwide, but we'll stick to this country. They do something to the psyche of democracy. And I think we're in a part right now where, for whatever reason, again, these people out on the limbs here, these extremists, feel that they, it's God's will. Let them do what they're going to do.
So some people say, well, if we had better gun control, but you don't believe that.
No. Gun control has not. I mean, no.
Bad guys are always going to get guns, right?
Oswald got his through the mail.
Yeah. And how then, in these scenarios, especially when there's big crowds, is somebody dropping the ball? Is there something that can be done to prevent these, or is it just part of the deal?
With President Trump's, he was not president at the time. With what took place in Butler, that was a total screw up. I mean, you take the high grounds. There was an elevated position not too far. I mean, a sniper is going to take a high ground, right? That's what snipers do. Even the guy, it wasn't political, but the guy in the Texas Tower that took out a bunch of people back in the '60s, or the guy in Las Vegas with the bump stock who started mowing people down at the Country Music Festival. So you got to secure all these areas, but if anybody thought yesterday there's going to be a sniper that's going to fire on a Dallas office or on the immigrants that were on the bus, nobody would have thought that. Nobody would have thought if you had to take a major city in this country in April of '95 that's going to get a building blown up, who would have thought Oklahoma City? Right. You don't know. You don't know. Do you prepare for everything? But I'll go one better. I mean, after that bombing in Oklahoma City, I could know from law enforcement, every time you saw a truck or something stop, and a legitimate breakdown, you're doing everything by the numbers. I guarantee you now, or maybe last year, maybe now they're a little more heightened, but maybe a year ago, you see a same truck there broken down with the hood up. Is anybody still giving it a thought? We have short-term memory for stuff that worked in the past.
Yeah.
So we know when police put out a radar, like, how long does that usually last? That people slow down in the neighborhood when they see the police out there, or they have the signs that's flashing.
The radar, yeah. That, you got a motorman out there with a radar gun. I mean, that next time they're going to be looking for the same person again. Yep. I mean, obviously they're going to shift around. Yep. I was never a motorman, but and I'm not even a great traffic lover. I was more into robberies and stuff, narcotics. But you move them around. The idea is to keep them from speeding. To give them. So they don't know where you are, right? They don't know if it's going to be enforced that day. It works. It slows people down
for a while
until they realize I haven't seen them in a while, and they speed up again. Yeah.
So why is it every time there's a shooting, we hear people up in Washington, we have to have better gun control? I don't get it anymore. I used to think that would matter. That's barely symbolic, all right?
Listen, I'm for all 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights. I start with the first, and I'm adamant on that. Gun control. Let me preface it with this: gun education and gun training go a long way. And I say it like this: have your gun. Don't leave it in the car. Car's not a gun safe. Now you just armed some petty anti-thief that broke into your car. Now he's armed because you left your gun. And I used to ask people, why did you leave your gun in the car? Why did you get it? Well, for protection. Yeah, but what happens in your house? It's in the car. Yeah, but I got kids. Then break it down. Put a gun lock on it. At least you have it there. I mean, it's all about education. There are people that should not have guns. Absolutely. There are red flag laws. There's a number of provisions that can keep people from having it. Closing loopholes in gun shows.
Let's look at the ones that have made these public murders, assassinations. How many of them were like mentally ill in the sense that they could be diagnosed? You look at them, they were schizophrenic or something. Doesn't seem like there were a bunch of they're marginal personalities, or some just go they want to kill people. So what can the in-laws, the parents, the police do for a marginal person that hasn't actually done something, that is properly licensed to carry a weapon? Is there anything that the police can do to grab their weapon away if they haven't done anything?
The old saying, if you see something, say something, right? After 9/11, you'll find in a lot of these cases the parents are the enablers, and there are people that have severe mental issues that should be nowhere near a gun. Adam Lanza, the Sandy Hook killer, right? He killed all those kids in the elementary school. Well, his mother bought him the guns. Well, who's the first person he killed when he went on the ramp? His mother. The fact of the matter is he had a relationship with the mother. He'd stay in his room, all the dark curtains, really gothic type. He had issues. The mother could only communicate with him through email. There was no way he should have had a gun. There was, there's a lot of warning signs that come up, but the people that would see it the best, really, unless they go online and start spouting their venom, would be the parents. And a lot of times they don't say anything. They enable. And that's why there should be civil and criminal penalties for parents that, in that position, that didn't do anything.
Yeah. Carlos, there was a case where the child killed a bunch of people. They arrested both the parents because they enabled this kid.
Right. Yeah. So talking about arrests, I wanted to talk about, because I'm very curious about how policing has changed over the years. I had the fortune, a friend of mine was a police officer. I rode with him on a shift, and people don't realize what police officers go through each and every day. How has that changed? I mean, it seems what I see on the news that things have gotten worse for police officers. What's going on?
Well, one of the big things that's happened that I think has helped policing, and some would argue, because, when something's new, you don't like it, especially police or people of that personality. They don't like change. I think the body cameras are great. Okay. Because a lot of people back in the day would lie on you. And a lot of complaints would be inconclusive because you couldn't prove it one way or other. That doesn't penalize the officer per se, but who needs that? The good, hardworking officer. So it does help you out. What has changed? Going back 30 years, you still had your bad guys out there, and you still had your darn good cops, and you still do now. You have those cops that'll handle their calls and nothing more, but they do a great job. You'll have those cops that are a bit more aggressive, looking for something to do because that's their personality. And, in police work, if you look for something, you'll find it. You'll get a sixth sense. And then some go to other units and they hone their skills, whether it's investigative or tactical. It's changed in the sense that, well, you know what? From a leadership, from a management point of view, I think being more open, I think goes a long way now. Transparency, as we discussed earlier, goes a long way. And getting in front of the curve. When something happens, don't wait for it to go away, because it's not. It's only going to magnify. Come out and, within the protection of the Bill of Rights for the police officer, but get in front of things. I think that goes a long way.
So you were a boxer for many years, not professional?
Amateur. I made no money off it. And if you ever see me fight, you know why.
How long did you box?
From 78. My last one, though, is 04,
So you boxed for a long time.
Yeah.
And you were a referee for a little while?
I reffed a little bit,
You ever get knocked out?
Not reffing. No.
And a comedian.
No, listen.
I've seen a ref get knocked out.
Make sure you tip your waiters and waitresses. No, I've been jarred. I didn't get hit by the right person, but no. The problem is, I used to tell my dad I could take a good shot. And he said, I don't think that's the idea. Yeah. But I took a good shot. But no, it's amateur, and you got good referees in there, and they watch. If something doesn't seem right, they'll standing 8 count or what have you.
So, is there a connection between the thrill of being a policeman and catching a bad guy and boxing? Is there any connection there?
No, I don't think so. No. I mean, my road work, I had good endurance. So, and it's a funny story, because in the areas I worked, I wasn't as fleet of foot as many of the young gentlemen out there that were either holding or had a weapon and took off running. But if they didn't duck in, and they didn't know where to run, I would run them down, because they'd be out of breath. And a lot of the times they just, you got me. And
you were chasing them down, caught them.
Yeah, you run. I mean, that's the fun of police work. And you know what? As serious as the job is, and I know I speak for a lot of cops, it's a great job. It's a lot of fun. It's serious as all heck, but it's a lot of fun to go out there and, protect and serve. It's an old adage. It's cliche, but yeah.
What's it like when you used to be in a police car? Would you pull people over for traffic violations, things like that?
I did. I mean, I made a lot of traffic stops, not so much for the traffic violation per se. I mean, looking at my forte was robbery and narcotics. So
what was it like when you would confront somebody that there was a possibility that they had a weapon on and they might be angry enough to try to take off? What is your mindset when you do that?
You're just very cautious. You revert back to training. And those that are in those units or that have that mindset, they take the training probably a little bit more seriously than the others, and they engage in trying to get into more training and more hands-on training, and you become part of units. I had the honor, really, when I was sergeant of robbery, to ride in a part-time basis once a week or so with robbery intervention detail of the county, RID, and it was a wonderful time. Great bunch of guys and girls there, and we just had a great time. I got to ride with them in the county, and I had all my detectives that were cross-referenced, so they got tactical and got to ride with them as well. It was a wonderful experience.
On January 6th, there's this large policeman who the people, when they broke in, he led them away from the senators, and that was because of his training. Most other people would stand in front of the door, right, trying to stop them from getting in. He led them completely away so the senators could get off.
Well, he or someone else stopped Romney, pointed him Senator Romney in the right direction. And we don't know what would have happened there. But I suffice it to say, when people try to minimize that, it was going to get uglier than it was. If certain things would have come into play, when the Secret Service led Pence out a certain way, had they gone the other way and got confronted, I mean, now that it would have gotten far uglier.
So you were talking about, or Michael asked you about pulling people over and things like that. And I remember, since I first started driving to the day, if I ever get pulled over, it's yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Has respect kind of faded away?
When to your question and yours, when I get pulled over occasionally, It's yes, sir, yes, ma'am. I don't pull master badge, anything. And I'll tell you what, you know, you asked about the cameras before the radar. And I guarantee you everybody's going to grin when they hear this. When you get pulled over, whether you get ticketed or not, I guarantee you, you leave from that car, both hands are on the wheel, driving under the speed limit. And it should shake up a little bit. You know, the interaction's professional, but, you know, whether you're ticketed or not, it was to prevent something that you were doing wrong that could have caused a problem. If you didn't get the ticket, that's the far better thing. And I used to give far more warnings than I gave tickets. The idea was, you know, I worked some poor neighborhoods, and I had a problem of giving a guy, unless it was something really egregious, giving a guy a ticket. He's working 2 jobs, putting food on the table. Now I'm going to hit him with a $100 ticket. You know, he got the message. That was me. But I wasn't a traffic person.
Yeah. And so, do you think police officers, and not just here, nationwide, people have lost respect for them, or?
No. I think people still have a great deal of respect for police. I think the agents provocateurs that have been amplified on social media. Right. Rebels without a cause, as I call them. And there's going to be times when there should be protests about certain police actions. I'm not going to sit here and say no. There's certain things that should be protested against peacefully if they get to an egregious point. I have no problem with that. I'm open-minded to that, you know, so long as it remains peaceful. But by and large, people respect the police, and they want a professional police department, and they want the police to do their job. They want them to combat the issues that are before them.
Yeah.
So, tell us about how when you were a policeman, how the departments across South Florida dealt with homeless people. What would happen when you would see them on the street?
You know, a law came down, I'd say it was right late 80s, where Pottinger Act, I think is what it was called, if I'm not mistaken. And you had to treat them with a little bit more dignity. You couldn't just throw out their property. You had to turn it in. You dealt with them in a little bit different way than you were prior to that. Homelessness is a problem. It's a problem, and I understand it. I mean, Florida in the winter, more people are coming down here, getting away from the cold. It's a problem for business owners, and you need the wisdom of Solomon to try to figure it out well to satisfy all sides.
You know, so often when we see there's stuff in the shopping cart, people say, why don't they get rid of the shopping cart? I said, that's their condo. All kidding aside, that's their thing. That's what keeps them stable. So they're not going to be freaking out. Otherwise, they'd just be walking down the street with nothing. And we just met with some folks with one of the local not-for-profits. They said there's enough help in Miami-Dade County that if we can get them directed, all right, they can get to, there's numerous shelters that they can go to, there's food, there's programs to be able to try to get some of these people and get them back into society.
Camilla's House always did a fantastic job back in the day.
Yeah, and they're still top ranked, and again, there's plenty of places, and I always feel badly when I see somebody out on the street, and what they continue to tell me, don't give them money, give them a card for the place to go. And I said to the guy, is that what you do? What do you really do? He says, actually, I do both, right?
Yeah.
And not too long ago, I was 103rd Street in the Palmetto Expressway coming off and turning left to go west, and there's this 5-year-old kid laying in the grass, and the mom and dad or whatever there. And I just felt so bad. I gave him a bunch of money. So I mean, why'd you do that? I said, because there's a 5-year-old kid laying right next to my tire, all right? Well, I said, all I know is he's laying down there, all right? So whatever it wasn't much, but it was enough to where I felt something about it. I just couldn't let that happen. And I think that each of us have to look to ourselves to figure out what we're going to do. And most of the charities, not-for-profits who do this, you got to get them to a place. I say, yeah, but I'm in a stoplight. I got 60 seconds. What are you going to do? And I think the next time that happens at the corner, have that internal conversation. What is it that you can do? And I wrote a piece about it. And it was, here he comes. Here the guy comes.
But you're right. I think there are a lot of resources, and either, they're not informed, they're happy where they are, because I've heard that too. And another organization that does a great job with them is the Sisters of Charity. Mm-hmm. They feed countless people on a daily basis. So
The mission, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good kindness, though. Kindness feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Kindness,
yeah.
it really does. I think that with the 5-year-old, though, I mean, take it a step further, maybe make a call. I mean, that's homelessness is bad, and you feel for people. But now you're putting a child in a dangerous situation. I think maybe a call or two has to be made. Hey, listen, there's a 5-year-old kid's out in the elements here. What can you do?
Yeah.
So the next time we're at that stoplight, and we should all think about it. So I wrote this column about how here he comes. Am I going to ignore him? Am I going to give him money? Am I going to give him coins? But do I really want my hands touching his? All right. How about if I reach in my pocket, whatever bill I have, what am I going to give him? And then finally I said, oh, look, the light turned green, on to my next lesson. And I think there are lessons for all of us in that. And what a wonderful thing to be able to say, when you see that, call somebody. And all the times I've thought about that scenario, and I play it every month or two, it's in my head, it never dawned on me to do that, because that was the driving force that was moving me to give money. And you're right. When you see something like that, pick up the phone, call.
Would you know who to call? That was my next question.
I guess I don't know. I'd start with 911. That's the only one that I know. There's some kid that's laying in the grass right off the
It certainly deserves a visit from police, DCF maybe, but the police first, and maybe then a reference over to DCF. I mean, you got a 5-year-old kid. We started the conversation with the trafficking. I mean, I'm not saying that's trafficking.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but again, see something, say something. I don't know that 5-year-old kid that's on the side of the Palmetto, and I've seen it also on the side of Bird Road, with basically the families out there. I mean, what is it? And you start thinking, does this child go to school? Is this child nourished? Is this child, because if you can't have a heart for the most vulnerable in our communities, the children, I mean, that's where it all starts.
So let's talk about last time you sort of predicted based upon the past immediate history of shootings. What's the next shooting look like, and is it going to be a group? Is it going to be a school? Is it going to be another one of those guys that was hiding in the trunk? Remember that about 20 years ago?
The sniper, DC sniper. Yeah.
And they couldn't find him, and the guy just enjoyed doing that. He was good at hiding for a long time.
He was. He put terror into the all DC area.
Well, it was two of them, right?
Virginia.
He had a young guy.
Boyd, the guy's name, something Boyd at the end, a young kid with him. He got executed, the sniper, and federally. Here's what I always like to say, since I like to write, and I always try to incorporate this. It's always going to be the December 6th, the November 21st, and the September 10th that keep you up at night, because you don't know what's coming tomorrow. We can envision an active shooter, and I think if you close your eyes and envision, you can figure out where it would happen or what's going on. But what happens if he's got 2 or 3 friends, and now you got 3 active shooters at the same time, or 4, and they got some military experience? There's a lot of what ifs. And that's why maybe it's easier for police, head on a swivel, or just start looking around, not being lax.
Do you think that most of all those shooters that do that, do they think to themselves, well, I'm just going to get caught and I'm going to die? Is that in their framework?
A lot of them take the cowardly way out and they kill themselves. That guy did yesterday. A lot of them do. You don't usually see them flee the area. They usually die in a gun battle with police, or they kill themselves. There's 1 or 2 that have gotten away, but I think once they're committed to that, then there's some that leave manifestos and they want to be famous. Right. They pay homage to the Andre Breivik, the guy in Norway, who sets off an explosion in Oslo, and when all the police are headed there, he gets off on a boat to a little Christian retreat on an island and kills 70 teenagers. They didn't have the death penalty there, but I was in Sweden that time when the sentencing was coming down. There was an old judge, and you had the subtitles, and he says, we don't believe in the death penalty, and he goes on, but he said, if there ever was a time you should die for what you did, it was right there. I said, whoa, that was pretty heavy. And people like to stream it live. They want to make a name for themselves. And so if you're asking me when's the next one, if you're asking me will there be a next one, without a doubt, yes. Right. Without a doubt, yes. And probably certainly within a year.
So let's we're going to wrap up with what should responsible gun owners do? with their weapons. Just remind people what they should do, how they should carry them, where they should lock them up at night, etc.
Well, they should be trained. Police train all the time. Everybody should train all the time with a weapon, with a firearm. Educate what you should do with it, how you should lock it up. Keep it away from kids. Kids are very, very curious. If you think your kid's not going to snoop when you're not there, you don't know kids. They're going to know. Now, what are they going to do when they see the gun? That's a conversation you have. I mean, if you have a cop family or a hunting family that they've breaking down weapons and showed them the dangers of it, and it's no longer a curiosity to them, that goes a little bit differently. If you don't know how to handle a weapon, don't have it. Don't have it, because the only thing that happens is you're going to get taken away from you and used against you.
And the authorities have again started charging parents when they've been negligent with that. And so, besides the damage the kid's going to do, just protecting yourself, make sure those weapons are properly stored. And you take a lot of classes people can take them in many, many, many places.
Don't leave them in the car either. Again, a car is not a gun safe.
Yeah.
So, Carlos, always a pleasure. David,
Same here.
thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
Appreciate
David.
it.
Thank
Pleasure.
And anytime you want to train, call Carlos.
All right.
Okay.
What are we training for?
Yeah, exactly.
Not guns.
I do want to congratulate Jim DiMarnardo, former major with Miami-Dade Police Department. He swam the Alcatraz swim, which was 1.5 miles. He went back again this weekend. He's doing it both ways by himself. And they hire boats to go along with that to raise some charity. He's raised $49,000. And he's trying to get to 50. I said, when you get to $49,750, that's when you get to call me, not before. Okay, hey, folks, let's look at the camera over here. Oh, this one over here. Thanks for joining us. Hey, and Zoni, put the camera on you. Can you do that? Where are we? Oh, no, not yet? Not yet. So I want to thank Anzoni, recent graduate of Miami-Dade College, is producing the show. Thanks, Anzoni. Remember, folks, take care of yourselves and your family. Have a good day. Bye now.